Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Krishna Shadadi Ram Ram Hare Krishna Shadadi
Hare Krishna
Shadadi Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This is Chandramauli Swami.
We are very fortunate to have with us His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj. Just a brief introduction of His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj. Maharaj appeared in 1947 in New Jersey, USA, and he came in contact with Krishna consciousness in Denver, Colorado at the age of 24. In 1973, he began practicing Krishna consciousness, and shortly thereafter, he began serving at the New Vrindavan Farm community in West Virginia. There in very difficult situations, he served, and in the same year, he received initiation from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In 1986, Maharaj accepted the sannyas order and began preaching in Columbus, Ohio. And Maharaj did preaching to a very unique community. Maharaj became involved with the ISKCON prison ministry in the USA and began visiting prisoners and holding programs in jails, along with regularly writing letters to them and sending them Srila Prabhupada's books. And Maharaj is now the leader of the ISKCON prison ministry, and he has worked a lot for development of such prisoners, and he has written a book, Holy Jail, a touching compilation of the activities of the ISKCON prison ministry. In 1995, he began serving as a resident sannyasi in Chicago, and at present, Maharaj offers spiritual guidance around Europe, USA, and India. And in India, we are very fortunate, especially Ujjain devotees. Maharaj has visited here a couple of times, and he has given an association to us. We are very grateful, Maharaj, that at this crucial moment, he has agreed to guide us, and let us express our gratitude to Maharaj by one time loudly chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai.
Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi, Astyatya De Satarine, Panchakalpa Tarubhischa, Vipasindhu Behapacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak to all of you, but I know that what we are discussing is something that is weighing very much heavily on the minds and hearts of the devotees all around the world in ISKCON, and that is the disappearance of a very wonderful, great, loving, dear, very dear to Srila Prabhupada, powerful, creative Acharya, His Divine Grace, Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. And the loss for our society is great because he represented many things that Srila Prabhupada emphasized in the practice of Krishna consciousness, and especially in the preaching of Krishna consciousness, as he has established Krishna consciousness in many places all around the world with many wonderful followers. Amazing, huge and grand temple in one of the most holy places in all of the world, in India, in Ujjain, a place where the Kumbh Mela is held occasionally. And of course, Ujjain is known to be, has a great history of many great sages who appeared there and performed tapasya there and did wonderful service there. Maharaj has done, there's a whole long list of things that he has accomplished in his service to Srila Prabhupada. And so many of us are seeing that we were so fortunate to have such a great personality in our association, where we could have received his mercy and at the same time associate and be inspired in our own Krishna consciousness. One of the things that everyone has been speaking about, and that's how personal Maharaj was. His personality in terms of how he related to everyone was so sweet and so gentlemanly and so wonderful, perfect in all Vaishnava culture and etiquette. He was such a loving person, a person who not only performed external relationships with others, but did it from the heart. He was genuine. His love for everyone was not something that was external. It was coming from the innermost core of his heart, as he understood the relationship between each living entity and Krishna. So he respected each living entity as very dear to Krishna, and showed his concern and love for each one of us. And personally, I have many, many wonderful and cherished moments that I can reflect back on when he showed me so much kindness, care, and even many times gave me directions in my execution of the devotional service. But we should understand from another principle that great personalities who are pure devotees in Krishna consciousness, they don't die. Death is for the non-devotees. In fact, nobody dies, but even for those who leave their body, there's no such thing as death in terms of their existence. As the sun appears at a certain time during the day over the eastern horizon and stays with us for many hours and then disappears over the western horizon, similarly, a great soul moves from place to place and doing everything they do wherever they are in the same way. So they are serving with devotion in one place and by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we should understand that Maharaj's disappearance is not something material or something due to something external like a disease. Krishna orchestrates his devotees' care in such a way that he takes personal care and brings them back to him in the spiritual world, or he takes them to a place where he is so they can continue to show mercy and preach Krishna consciousness. What was exemplary, many things, of course, in the life of Bhakti Charu Maharaj was his relationship with Srila Prabhupada. We have heard from others how he came in 1976, and that was only about a year prior to Srila Prabhupada's departure, and how much he took to Krishna consciousness right away. Within a few months after coming into the association of devotees, he was given a very special position in relationship to Srila Prabhupada, being his personal servant and personal cook. And Prabhupada brought him immediately into his inner circle because Prabhupada could see there was something very extraordinarily special about this person. Of course, when that happened, it was natural that many devotees, especially senior devotees, were quite astonished how fast he received such, positions in our society, getting first and second initiation only a few months after coming, and then a couple months later after that receiving a sannyas initiation. And some of the senior devotees had asked Srila Prabhupada, how was that? And Prabhupada understood their concern and said, yes, I see something very special in him. So in seeing something special, Prabhupada also gave him a lot of personal advice, care, direction, knowing that this person could do wonders in spreading Krishna consciousness around the world. So that was Prabhupada's clear and very pure vision of Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj. It wasn't something that he was just saying, or because he happened to be Bengali. Sometimes people might think, well, Prabhupada was Bengali and he was Bengali. No, Prabhupada wasn't like that. Prabhupada would treat people according to their position in devotional service. And he would either correct them, raise them up, or inspire them accordingly. So he could see that here was a person who could do wonders in spreading Krishna consciousness around the world. And Prabhupada's vision was absolutely correct. We saw that. In my own personal life, I have many, many wonderful experiences that I can remember in our relationship. And Maharaj exhibited certain characteristics that were just the deep understanding of full dependence on Krishna in each and every circumstance. In the year 2001, of course, Bhakti Charu Maharaj was coming to the Chicago temple in America quite often. He also gave initiation to our temple president there, and many, many other devotees who were staying in Chicago. And I was the resident sannyasi there, so I would have many opportunities to spend time with Maharaj when he came. And one time, it was a very difficult time in America when there was this Twin Towers where some planes had crashed into the two buildings in New York City, and planes were hijacked, and And then there was this building that crashed and more than 5,000 people lost their lives. And it was happening in different places. So right around that time, Maharaj also had come to Chicago for a few days, and he was scheduled to leave very soon. So after seeing this incident, we were sitting together watching it on the television. I also, for me, it was time for me also to move on, to go out and preach. But I said to Maharaj, I think it's a very difficult time now. And of course, the airports were practically empty. Hardly anyone was getting on plane flights. Only a few people were using the flights. Most flights were canceled because they couldn't have enough passengers. And there was this fear that was permeating the country that, anytime a plane could be hijacked and this could happen again. So security went on red alert. And so there was this fear that permeated travel. People shouldn't travel now. And so, but Maharaj, it was time for him to leave. And I said to him, and in a very, what we say, friendly way, I said, Maharaj, I don't think it's a good time for traveling now because of the situation. And I also said, I think I'll stay a few more days here and wait till things change. And, he looked at me and he said to me, a coward dies 1,000 deaths. A hero dies once. And of course, the next day he left for his next destination, so to continue his preaching. So he didn't want to interrupt his preaching because of some material situation. And that was Maharaj. In the same way, he came to Orlando, Florida, because he wanted to give his association to the devotees. And he focused on developing that project, knowing that was very dear to Srila Prabhupada, as Prabhupada had said. 50% of my mission is incomplete. I have not established these Varnashram systems, these farm communities. And so Maharaj had developed and began that project, and now he wanted to spend more time and inspire the devotees and also lead the devotees in developing that. So he was not at all afraid of any material situation. But that's all external. The internal thing is that it was time for him to join Srila Prabhupada. And that we have to understand, that a great devotee is not under the external energy at all. They're simply in the hands of Krishna and Krishna's pure devotee. And Krishna says many times, Konti et pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. We see that Krishna always protects his devotees. And Prabhupada over and over again states how nothing external can harm a great devotee. But if it appears that way, there is some reason for that. And what is the reason? Of course, we might understand that he was teaching us that we should also be very careful in our travels, knowing that this is using himself as an example, or Krishna using him as the example to teach us that we have to be careful, because at any time we can also become contaminated by this virus. But for Maharaj, it's different, because he's because of his pure devotion and his love for Srila Prabhupada. So the plan of the Lord can never be fully understood. But we understand the principle that governs Krishna's relationship with his devotees. That, as Krishna says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 9th canto, the pure devotees are in my heart, and I am in the heart of my pure devotees. They know no one but me. and I know no one but them. So Krishna's love and care for his pure devotee is complete, and nothing material can affect them. And so for us who are now here, having to go on in our devotional service, we can understand that a great soul doesn't die. He remains in the hearts of his devotees. But how can we access that association? We understand there's two things, Vani and Vapu. Vani means personal association, physical association. And Vapu means instructions or directions that come from the teachings of the spiritual master. So the Vapu, as Prabhupada said, can be beneficial or may not also be beneficial. Could go one way or the other. But Vapu is nice when we have the right attitude. But what sustains our relationship with the spiritual master, not only sustains it, but develops it to a higher level, is the instructions. So he who lives to follow the instructions of the spiritual master lives eternally with the spiritual master. So in that mood of separation, there's a greater mood that arises in that determination and love for the spiritual master by following his instructions as our life and soul. And what is that mood? Is that we actually can associate with the spiritual master directly, where that mood of separation now becomes the mood of meeting constantly within the heart. We have the example of Srila Prabhupada when Prabhupada came to Mayapur one time. This was, of course, in the days when Mayapur was still developing. So Prabhupada went right to our Mayapur site, and he didn't stop in the Chaitanya Mat, which was the place, the temple which had been established by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and also his Samadhi Mandir was there. But Prabhupada didn't stop there, our Prabhupada. Prabhupada's godbrothers became critical and started to say, well, why isn't he going to see his spiritual master? He's coming to Mayapur, he's not even going. The word got back to Srila Prabhupada about what they said. And Prabhupada said, don't they understand? I'm never, even for a moment, separated from my spiritual master. I'm always thinking of him. I'm always trying to follow his instructions to spread Krishna consciousness around the world. So that is the mood that we can develop as we develop it stronger in our Krishna consciousness as an offering to our spiritual master. Because for many, we can now make even more advancement in spiritual life in this mood of service and separation, because it really brings the heart to a point where we can now express our love for our spiritual master and show and please him by doing what he taught us that he wanted us to do in terms of our service and our attitude in the practice of Krishna consciousness. So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness, that although we are separated physically, we are together on the spiritual platform. And that is the beauty of this movement, that it's not dependent on time, place, and circumstance. It's simply dependent on our practice of Krishna consciousness and our love for Krishna and the spiritual master. So there is so much in the life of Bhakti Charu Maharaj that we can remember and we can go deeper in. And by reflecting on our relationship with him, we can probably also understand deeper what he wanted from each and every one of us. Because Maharaj was very personal, both with his disciples, and he spent much time giving seminars classes. And one of the things that was outstanding in his teachings is helping us develop a greater and more loving and stronger relationship with Srila Prabhupada. He did that in many ways. And one of the ways he used to do it is that during his own Vyasa Puja celebrations, he would change the focus to Srila Prabhupada and make it a meeting of devotees to glorify Srila Prabhupada. In fact, after doing that a few times, he actually started to do seminars on the life of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's teachings as the feature of his own Vyasa Puja offerings. He wanted us to come closer to Srila Prabhupada, to hear more about Srila Prabhupada, for his love for Srila Prabhupada and also for his love for us, so we would understand, because the closer we come to Srila Prabhupada in our execution of devotional service, the more we know about Krishna. Because Prabhupada was the ideal example of teaching us who is Krishna and what is our relationship with Krishna, and how to make that relationship stronger and stronger in our execution of devotional service. So you could say, to use a cliche, he was a Prabhupada man through and through. And that was his love for Srila Prabhupada. And we understand that that love is his reciprocation from Prabhupada's love for him, because Prabhupada had so much love for Bhakti Charu Maharaj. Prabhupada had love for everyone, but he showed special love in giving Bhakti Charu Maharaj special guidance and instructions. He took him into his inner teachings, knowing that this would be a person who could spread the glories of Krishna consciousness far and wide. And he did that. He did that. And his legacy will live on and in the hearts of the devotees, but also in what he established in the external environments, the wonderful projects that he developed around the world, and how he inspired others to become Krishna conscious. So we understand from the teachings of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who says that he reasons ills that say that Vaishnavas die when thou art living it still and sound. Vaishnavas die to live, and in living, spread the holy name around. So death is for the non-devotee, but separation is there in the process of Krishna consciousness. And in that separation, there is great opportunity to increase that loving relationship through our service and through our love for our spiritual master. So I'll stop there. There's much we can say about Bhakti Charu Maharaj, but perhaps we can see if anyone would like to make any comments or even questions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. The devotees who have questions, they can raise the hand electronically on the Zoom, so we can unmute them and they can ask the question.
Okay.
Yes, Maharaj, just 1 second. There is one devotee, Gaurav Shaw. Yes, Prabhuji, you had one question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept the obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, I have a question like, we know in front of Krishna's plan, everything else is inferior. So my question is then, what is the role of prayers in the time of crisis? if Krishna is controlling everything, then what is the role of prayer in the time of crisis? And attacks will happen by Krishna's plan only.
Well, Krishna is not insensitive to our prayers. He hears the prayers, but then he also knows what is the best way to respond to the prayers. So Krishna has his plan, but we can offer our prayers just to show our love for Krishna and also our love for the object of our prayer. But we leave everything up to Krishna. We don't know exactly, why Krishna does what he does, but we can understand that whatever he does is perfect and all good. Otherwise, what is his position? He's the all good Supreme Personality of Godhead. He makes no mistakes. And therefore, if we want our spiritual master to stay and we offer our prayers, he hears that. But our prayers are also meant to increase our love for our spiritual master. So we see during the time when everyone was praying and asking Krishna, if you so desire, please, allow Bhakti Charu Maharaj to stay with us. Then, that increased our love. And that helps us to show more and more love. So that is beautiful in itself. And so the whole world was showing our love for Bhakti Charu Maharaj in the form of offering prayers to Krishna. And that love is what Krishna consciousness is all about, increasing our love for our spiritual master, increasing our love for Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. My question is, Maharaj, we have heard in last few days that Guru is present in his instructions, and if we follow them very sincerely, we will feel his presence in our heart. My question is that in case if we are not able to follow his instructions, we somehow come under influence of Maya or not, or are not able to follow as he said. So do we receive chastisement also if we have a connection with him in any form?
Yeah, that's also mentioned. Of course, we should try. That's the point. We should try our best to follow instructions. But if we fall short for whatever reason, still, because we are trying our best, that is perfect. So bhakti really means to do our best to try to follow the instructions and to please Krishna and to please the spiritual master. And what is pleasing is our sincere desire and our effort to please them. Now, do we receive chastisement? Well, the answer could be understood in this way, is that there will be some indication that we're not up to the standard. So that indication is a form of chastisement, you might say, that Krishna, through the spiritual master, will show you that you're falling short. That may come directly in your own heart or by your own understanding, or it may come from the external environment in the form of other devotees helping you understand that somehow or other you're falling short. But in any case, you can call it chastisement, or you can call it an opportunity to correct and to, then to move forward in the right way. But the spiritual master is not gone. He's always with us in one form or another, but now, due to his personal absence, he works through his energies, which is our association with the other devotees. And many times, even within our heart, we can get the understanding of what the spiritual master expects from us. It depends on our sincerity. It depends on our sincerity.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So far right now, they are not having any questions. If you would like to share something more with Maharaj.
Okay.
Yes, I got one question, Maharaj. This is Prem Rupa Mataji. She's saying, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your time. Srila Prabhupada once said that the Guru has to wait for all his disciples to go back to Godhead. Is this true? Can you speak more to this?
Yeah, Prabhupada spoke about this. The duty of the disciples is to sincerely follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And the duty of the spiritual master is to do whatever he can to bring that disciple back home, back to Godhead. That's the contract that's made during the time of initiation. When one agrees to follow the principles, chant the 16 rounds as understood, and at the same time engage in devotional service. And so, if a devotee remains sincere, and then but still falls short of perfection, then in the next life that devotee will again get the association of their spiritual master in one form or another to again continue on their journey back to Godhead. But if that devotee somehow breaks the contracts, falls short, and stops following, then the responsibility of the spiritual master may change. He will still try to bring that devotee back, but it's up to the devotee to again take up the process as he had promised during the time of initiation. So that contract is eternal. Where spiritual master is one, but he may appear in different forms. So if we have to come back in the next life and we remain sincere, then our spiritual master will again arrange for himself to come back in one way or other to retrieve us. And Prabhupada explains that very clearly, that as long as you keep your sincerity and you follow, even if you fall short, and eventually, life after life, that spiritual master will be there to bring you back. But if you give up your spiritual activities, fall away from your vows, stop performing devotional service, then what can the spiritual master do? He can try to encourage you through the material energy by creating suffering in your life, and he will do that also to help you again wake up to the importance of devotional service.
Maharaj, he continues the question. Does this mean the Guru is not in Goloka?
He can be in Goloka, or he can be somewhere with Krishna, and somewhere in the material world preaching Krishna consciousness. That's up to Krishna. When Prabhupada was asked, is it true that some devotees don't go back home, they stay in the material world? Prabhupada also said, yes, there are those who want to preach eternally. So by the grace of the Lord, they are arranged to go somewhere in the material world to continue spreading Krishna consciousness. But we are hearing that wherever Srila Prabhupada is now, maybe Prabhupada is somewhere in the material world doing the same thing. Or he may be back in the spiritual world. But wherever Prabhupada is, we can understand that's where Bhakti Charu Maharaj is. I think that is not some conjecture or some speculation. Because of his love for Srila Prabhupada and his service to Prabhupada, he's again united with Srila Prabhupada somewhere, wherever Srila Prabhupada is.
Maharaj, yes, there is one devotee, Dhanashri Mataji.
Okay.
Yes, Mataji, you can. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and glories to you. I would like to know, does the spiritual master has the same potency when he's in his form, when he was alive, or after his death? Does he has the same potency?
I missed a few words of what your question was. Does the spiritual master, when he was with us and when he passed away, does he have?
Does he have the same power? The same power, you know? Well, now that he's
Oh yeah, not only the same power, but you might say his power is always increasing. He has his influence is not restricted. You have to understand the principle that restrictions only apply to the material energy, and a pure devotee is above the material energy, and they're completely empowered by Krishna. So they're not under any limitations. The body causes limitations, but outside the body, in the spiritual body, there's no limitations.
So in other words, we might be happier after his death than when he was in his form of Vapu.
He'll be happier?
We, as devotees, we could be happier to experiment his absence. I mean, his vani better than when
well,
he
the
was...
happier we is that we are now understanding that he's in a better position. He's with Prabhupada, he's with Krishna, he's going on in his service. That happiness is the happiness of feeling happy for him.
Okay. So we have less reason to lament.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we shouldn't lament because lamentation causes, well, initially it's good if we show that emotion. When Bhakti Charu Maharaj first learned about Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, he showed a very, very strong emotional upset. So much so that he had to be pacified by other devotees because he had so much love. So to cry and to show emotions for the disappearance of the spiritual master initially is natural, and it's actually the duty of a disciple. But that after some time, then we have to move on and understand that disappearance is actually something that we can take advantage of and move forward in our Krishna consciousness. So we don't carry that with us to that lamentation, although our heart may be heavy with the loss of our spiritual master. We can show our love for him and show our dedication to what he lived for by trying to be a better disciple, a more fixed up disciple, a more loving disciple. So that will bring greater happiness.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, it's not, emotions are there and that's natural. But now after some time, we have to understand what is my duty in my relationship to my association. Now the association is no longer on the physical platform, but now it's on the pure spiritual platform.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Danvat Pranam. Vancha kalpatarubhyaksha kripa sindhubhyo eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. I'm from Chicago, and the Chandramauli Maharaj was there during the Balram Jayanti when Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj came. I have a lot of memories of the picture with the Maharaj. Both Maharaj were there, and the whole temple was packed up so much. And whenever the Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj is there and the Chandramauli Swami Maharaj there together, whole environment, it was so ecstasy, of Krishna consciousness at that time. And there was also so much memory with Chandramauli Maharaj and Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. I have shared some photographs also for that day. So all the devotees, if he wants to see, I have also another 180 pictures on that day, that how the people were doing kirtan when Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj and the singing, and at the same time Chandramauli Maharaj were dancing in ecstasy. That was so amazing to see. I can't forget that moment. That was so auspicious to see when both Maharaj were together, and they showered us so much mercy, both together. I can't forget, how to believe that, that both Maharaj
Sorry
at the
to
same
interrupt,
time in
Prabhuji.
Chicago temple.
Haribol
Yeah.
Uttam Prabhu. Do you have
Yeah.
any question? Because there is one more question we can.
I don't have a question, but I'd like to give my thankful to Maharaj, that Hare Krishna to Maharaj also. Since I was there, I want to give some nice moments that Maharaj was with the Bhakti Charu Maharaj. That was nice to see both together in Chicago temple. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Danvat
Thank you.
Pranam.
Thank you for the memories.
Yes.
Please send me the pictures.
Yeah. Sure. I'll send the Champak also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Jayati Radha Mataji, she is asking Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam, Pujya Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful lecture. We all heard that love in separation gets intense, but now we all are realizing the same. Gurudev is constantly in our thoughts, in our mind, and in this separation is painful and blissful simultaneously. How to understand this situation, Maharaj?
It's an experience. It's mixed emotions. It's very sweet and also weighs very heavy at the heart at the same time. The sweet part is we can go into the memories of our relationship with our spiritual master and keep them very close in our heart, because that is also bhakti. Those memories that we have when he was with us. And that heaviness in the heart, which makes us feel a loss, can turn into something that is very positive, is that I want to show my spiritual master how much I miss him by trying to become a better devotee, become a more loving devotee, to learn more about what he taught and how I can live according to what he taught me. So yeah, it is simultaneously sweet and very heavy on the heart. We might say very painful. But that's the nature of love.
Hare Krishna, Aprajita Mataji. You are unmute now. You can ask the question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Anvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you for such an insightful class, Maharaj. I don't know if my question is even valid, but it's just something that has been on my mind for quite a while. So ever since Maharaj physically left our presence, it's been very hard, and I'm sure a lot for other devotees as well, but it's very hard for me to accept the fact that Maharaj will no longer come back, because before Maharaj went to D-Land, he was in New Jersey, and I thankfully to Maharaj, I got a chance to serve him. So that's one of the last memories I have. And then attending his last rites, it's hard for me to accept that Maharaj is not coming back. I don't know if I'm in denial or it's just me feeling Maharaj's presence around me. But if it is denial, how do I get over that phase? How do I get to accept the reality that this is the end all and be all when it comes to having us being graced with Maharaj's physical presence?
Yeah, I went through the same thing. I was thinking, I'll go to Ujjain and he'll be there, and I'll see him again, and I'll meet him in London where I used to meet him a lot. I was sure he wasn't gone. It was just the inconceivable feeling of his disappearance brings us that it's impossible to understand or even accept that he'll no longer be with us. But that's a feature of love. That's just a feature of love. But the reality is now is that we have to keep that relationship and develop it on the platform of service and separation. Because maybe we don't feel or we don't completely understand what is that mood of service and separation, we're still somewhat on the platform of, our relationship with him as it was in this world. And so now we have to take that same experience, happiness, those moments that we were together, the moments that we were able to serve him and please him, and continue with that in our day-to-day service to him by serving his devotees, by serving others, by becoming more fixed in our own practice of Krishna consciousness, chanting, and living with what Maharaj wanted us to keep foremost in our own heart. So it's a kind of denial, but at the same time, it's also a feature of love. But we have to, after some time, we have to move on to that part of our life where we can serve in that mood of separation. And then we developed a whole new, not new relationship, but that relationship that we had on the physical level is now able to be continued on the level of the mood of separation. And that same mood is the mood of our relationship with Krishna. That Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that as the prime teaching to serve the Lord in the mood of separation, hankering for that association, but at the same time, trying to please them in everything we do. So, and we have many examples of devotees who have lost their spiritual master, but still feel their presence due to their devotion to their spiritual master. So the relationship with the spiritual master is eternal. It doesn't, it's once it begins, it becomes eternal. It's eternal at the time it begins, and then it continues on. And again, we'll be in that association personally in the spiritual world after we go back home, back to Godhead. We will again be there. But we can look forward to again having that association as we did in this world, but in a perfect and pure spiritual atmosphere. Then it becomes something wonderful. So, yeah, that mood is good, it's natural, but it can keep us from developing that mood of separation. And we don't want that to happen, because in that mood of separation, it's also very sweet. Because as that mood of separation develops, it leads, at one point, when that separation becomes intense, it leads to meeting again within the heart, within the mind. The personal presence again becomes very strong of our spiritual master.
Thank you for such an insightful answer, Maharaj. I just have one small follow-up question. You said that once that relationship is, is established with the spiritual master, it just continues on from there forward.
Yeah.
Does it apply to the aspiring devotees, or one has to have established their relationship through the formal initiation ceremony? Because I didn't have the fortune of getting initiated. I was aspiring, and
a real initiation is in the heart. The formal ceremony is to consummate what's in the heart and to connect one to the disciplic succession. But if you had already in your heart and mind surrendered to Maharaj as his disciple and were willing to give your life in service to him, that is initiation. That is the real initiation. There are people who take initiation in the formal sense, but the heart is not completely there. So they're not really initiated, although they may have a name and go on as being initiated. But the real initiation is in the heart. That's Shastra. That's not something I'm just making up or saying.
thank you, Maharaj. Thank you
So so in one sense, if your heart is there completely with Maharaj, then you're initiated.
Thank you, Maharaj. That does provide a lot of solace to my heart right now.
You're initiated in the process of bhakti, or in the process of loving devotional service. That's the initiation.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Shri. Please accept my humble obeisances under the dust of your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, as we are experiencing absence, but we are constantly having his thoughts and his pastimes in our mind. And while we chant in the morning, the thoughts of Maharaj prevails in the mind, and his pastimes and his loving words, his loving smile, everything overpowers our mind at that time also. How we can call this kind of chanting attentive or inattentive?
It's the most attentive. It's attentive to the mood of the heart. You have to understand that love for the spiritual master is non-different than love for Krishna. In fact, it's even more powerful. That the more we have love for the spiritual master, and show that love and experience that love in different ways, in the mood of separation or in the mood of service, it's actually an indication of our love for Krishna. Because the spiritual master lives only to give us Krishna consciousness. He comes into our life for that. So that is the most attentive chanting.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to your divine association.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shila Prabhupada, Jai Shila Guru Maharaj. My question is that we as disciples, we had so many desires which were not completed. You know, we were thinking that, you know, this is what we are going to do with Maharaj in the, you know, next coming days, or, you know, in the next retreat, or this is how we are going to serve. Or So this is right now, it's bothering me because those desires wasn't completed. And as Guru Maharaj always said, be a good devotee. And we always wanted to show Guru Maharaj that we are trying our best. So these desires which are not fulfilled, and this how to mend our heart, to make it complete, these desires, how can we make it complete?
Well, keep those same desires and how you wanted to serve your spiritual master, and then do whatever you can accordingly and try to fulfill those desires. If you know if they will be pleasing to your spiritual master, that's the important thing. We want to do something that will please him.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Thank
that's,
you.
yeah, continue with that.
Yeah.
Even though his personal presence is not there, he's still receiving our service.
Yeah, that's very important. Thank you so much. Yeah, he's going to receive our service.
Yeah, of course, that's spiritual.
Yes, I got that. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for mending my heart. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I would like to just give one information that after Maharaj's, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj's Samadhi, His Holiness Bhakti Prem Maharaj with a couple of devotees, he left Mayapur with the pushpa, which has to be brought to Ujjain, and then that pushpa should be given as a pushpa samadhi in Ujjain. So they have just arrived in temple. So devotees are greeting them and receiving them as Maharaj has arrived in the temple. I just wanted to give you, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also we would like to thank you, Maharaj, for giving us this association, and by answering the question of different devotees, you have clarified many of the thoughts and doubts going in our mind. So it was really giving a solace to all of us. And in Ujjain, like many devotees were also sharing that His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj used to come to Ujjain, and we used to had the kirtan and dancing and all this. They all miss the dancing and kirtan of you, Maharaj, many times. And they were, because I got the chance to serve you in Ayurvedic clinic, so they used to ask me when Maharaj is coming next. So on behalf of all the devotees in Ujjain, I would like to invite you, Maharaj, because I think it's been 3 years we didn't had your association, and now I don't know how long this COVID is going to continue. But in future, we please request you, Maharaj, to visit Ujjain and give your association to all of us, Maharaj.
My desire is to come to Ujjain. I've been thinking that next time I can visit India, when things are opening up again, I'll first go to Ujjain, because I have so many wonderful memories, and I wanted to honor the departure of Bhakti Charu Maharaj by coming and visiting his temple and seeing the devotees there. So yeah, it's something that I also want to fulfill. And thank you, Vyasadeva, and congratulations on your advancement in the Krishna consciousness. I know that you had just recently accepted the renounced order in terms of accepting brahmachari fully. And for me to see that and have you, knowing you in that association, was something that made me very happy, and something that I know will please your spiritual master. So thank you. There you go. Thank you. And thank you to all the devotees. I offer my humble obeisances and always eager to serve in whatever way I can. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.